Hi everyone, some good news today. I always try to provide you with some good news when I can because the world is still a great place. So I will give a shout out to the state of New Hampshire today. Small state, but big things are happening there. And the state of New Hampshire actually has a very interesting House and interesting Senate. So Congress as a whole, they have a record number of people serving in their state for districts. So even though it is a very small state, it has one of the biggest congressional numbers of people in the world. So as one of I think it's like Sweden or some other country in Europe only has a larger Congress, but as far as numbers of people, because their districts are so small, but it does mean that government can be pretty slow over there. They're slow to pass things, and they are traditionally a conservative state in New England. So it was very bizarre to me that this election, the 2020 election, was swung to President Biden. So I grew up in the state of Maine, spent a lot of my life in southern Maine, spent a lot of time in New Hampshire. So I know New Hampshire is actually a very conservative state. So it is surrounded by very, very liberal Massachusetts and very, very liberal Vermont. But I was very surprised, and I actually believe that there was election rigging that happened in New Hampshire because from all the signs, all the Trump signs that I saw, I barely saw any Biden signs at all. There are a few liberal enclaves as more and more people from Massachusetts and New York are moving to New Hampshire. They're bringing the liberal culture with them, and with that, the support for Biden. But if you drove around the state of New Hampshire, you would have seen Trump signs everywhere. So the fact that the state actually voted blue was very surprising to me. They had voted for Trump in 2016. They did not vote for Hillary Clinton. So I thought that shenanigans were afoot in the state of New Hampshire. So some good news coming out of their audit, and also some information about their emergency powers. So first and foremost, New Hampshire passes bill limiting the governor's emergency powers. So this is something that they actually snuck into their budget. So if the Governor Sununu, wanted to get rid of his this limit on the emergency powers, he couldn't do a line item veto. He would have to throw out the whole thing. And so they were smart to have tied it to their budget. And I've seen some videos about people who are activists and people who are in the New Hampshire House, and they said that they did this on purpose, tying it to the budget so that he would have to pass it, because so many people have been elected recently in New Hampshire with the promise of ending these lockdowns, ending all of these mandates that are not constitutional. And even though Sununu himself is a Republican, he has gone along to a large extent with the whole lockdowns and the mandates that we are seeing, which so many other governors have been pushing. And like I said, they're surrounded by liberal states, so he was kind of going along with it, I think, a lot of the time. New Hampshire House passes bill limiting the governor's emergency powers. So this is some excellent news. I will say it is somewhat tempered, though, because like I said, in the state of Michigan, it was ruled, even the Supreme Court of Michigan ruled that the governor's mandates were unconstitutional, and they've continued to go on. In fact, the Michigan governor just declared that schools should shut down again and people shouldn't go to restaurants again. So we'll see how this goes forward. The New Hampshire House voted overwhelmingly Thursday to give lawmakers more say in future states of emergency. So as you may know, a lot of these emergency powers were put in after 9/11 under the Patriot Act, and a lot of this power was given, blanket power was given to the governors with, I'm guessing, with the expectation that it would be used like we have seen. So just 2 weeks to flatten the curve equaled more than a year of emergency executive orders. And obviously, these emergency declarations, all of this loses power and loses its teeth when you drag something out for more than a year. So an emergency declaration should be something like, if there's massive flooding, you do this for a couple of weeks while you clean up the mess and you get people into a safe situation. You don't drag this out for a year, because now they've ruined the whole point of all of this, which of course perhaps the point was to mandate this for in order an unknown amount of time that could go on forever, which we are seeing now. 2 weeks have turned into a year. Under the bill, governors will retain a free hand to declare a 30-day state of emergency, so 1 month. So instead of 2 weeks to flatten the curve, they've got 1 month. But the legislature would have to approve any extension of those orders. If circumstances didn't allow lawmakers to meet, a governor's emergency acts would renew in 14-day increments until lawmakers could weigh in. Deerfield Republican Representative Terry Roy said that the bill profited from bipartisan input and is informed by the state's experience during the pandemic. We learned a lot we didn't know when the emergency orders law passed previously. We are now better prepared if this happens again. We know what we do not want, Roy said. Governor Sununu has criticized and indicated that he would veto this and several other bills lawmakers have passed to limit the authority of a governor during an emergency. So like I said, thankfully, this time they actually tied it to the budget, so he would have to throw out the whole budget, which is basically unheard of, and that would cause a huge problem for the entire state and, of course, for his political power. So the second piece of information, good news I want to discuss is New Hampshire House also passes a bill tightening absentee voting, election day registration, ID requirements. So state of New Hampshire is going after this. Verifiable photo ID is for all people registering to vote and for some who mail in requests for absentee ballots passed on the House on Thursday. House Bill 292 will require voters applying by mail for an absentee ballot to include a copy of their photo ID if they're asking their city or town clerk to return the absentee ballot to them at an address other than the address on file with the city or town as their domicile. So this is also House Bill 523 would also require a person who registers to vote on election day but does not have a photo ID to have his or her photograph taken at the polling place. So this is some other big news, tightening down on some of the free-for-all that we have seen with elections recently. And then the Gateway Pundit has also reported New Hampshire Senate joins the House, passes SB 43 to mandate an audit of the Windham County in New Hampshire's fraudulent 2020 election results off to the governor to sign. So the governor said he would sign this. A huge win. Breaking news, New Hampshire for election integrity signed. Forensic audit will determine a huge discrepancy between the election day results and the subsequent recount of Windham's November 3rd, 2020 state representative race, where a difference of 1,363 total votes from just 10,006 ballots were uncovered. So, bill authorizing Windham election audit sent to the governor. Would sign this. They're going to do an audit of all of the elections in this district, where they said there was huge discrepancies. So Senator James Gray, a Republican from Rochester, said that the audit will be conducted in public view so every voter can be confident in the election process. So some good news, lots of good news coming out of New Hampshire. Just wanted to share this with you. So I do think we have to see this state by state moving forward and really pressure these governors. I am on Rumble. You can find me on Rumble under Zoon Politikon, putting videos up on there. Like I said, I've been censored from my main channel on YouTube. I'm also on BitChute. Try to upload as much as I can up on there. Probably one of the more steady streams. Mine seems the easiest to upload, so I'm up on mine's as Zoon Politikon. And of course, I'm also still on Patreon. And I'm working on a Subscribe Star and Odyssey and Rockfin and hopefully my own website as well coming up soon. And what other sort of other platforms that do not censor that are in the works, I will be letting you know. You can always find all of this in the show notes. Hope you have a great weekend. Take care. God bless. I love you guys. Bye-bye.